Hello there, everybody. I am fresh off the Milwaukee constructed 2K where I managed to top 8 with Ruby Amethyst control. And while it's all fresh in my mind, I figured I would run through the exact list I played and play some games for you. Overall, I would say this is a pretty standard Ruby Amethyst control deck, but I feel really confident in the numbers, and if you're looking for a good place to start with this deck, or a really solid list to try, I think this is a really good one for you. Starting with the early game threats, I have 8 of the 1-drops, and the reason I choose to play 8 is just because playing something on turn 1 is extremely important in this format. I think almost every single matchup is very tempo-based, and you'd basically just want to do absolutely everything in your power to make sure that you have a 1-drop every single game. Cusco is basically playing a similar role there, although it pairs well with the 1 crab. It's mostly just here as a curve filler. You need a 2-drop other than Madam Mim Snake, because in a lot of matchups, you just want to curve out and play things to the board, and sometimes you don't necessarily want to bounce your 1-drop back to hand with Madam Mim Snake, specifically because you want to have it in play the following turn so that you can bounce with Madam Mim Fox. And I think this 4 different card package here, the Merlin Goat, Merlin Rabbit, Madam Mim Snake, Madam Mim Fox, basically speaks for itself at this point. This set of cards is just an extremely potent combo. It's basically the reason you want to be playing Amethyst right now in pretty much any deck, and I'm sure you've seen it 100 times before. Maleficent, very similar to Cusco, just a card you can play on 3, replaces itself, it's never bad. It tends to be extremely important in the discard matchup, where all you really want to be doing is playing cards like Merlin Rabbit and Maleficent that replace themselves, then bouncing them and replaying them again, until you can wipe the board with a Be Prepared. And if Maleficent is underpowered in whatever matchup or board situation you have, you can just ink it. 1 copy of Merlin Crab. It's not the most powerful card. I know a lot of people have started cutting this card from their deck in favor of something like Peter Pan Shadow or just other cards in general, but it still allows your 1-drops and your Cuscos to trade up. It still allows your minis to trade with opposing minis, and it allows you to do cool plays like Merlin, bounce Merlin to take out things like Ursula that you might otherwise have trouble with. I think it's a nice solid one of, gives you some options you otherwise wouldn't have, and you can just ink it when it's bad. Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer, I think at this point the secret is out. This is the best card in the mirror. In fact, it's so powerful that mirrors basically revolve around this card in the mid game. If one person plays a Stylish Surfer and it goes unanswered, that person almost always wins the game in the mirror. So yeah, 4 copies, pretty obvious there. It's also good in matchups like Blue Steel, where you want to curve out and put as much pressure on early, and yeah. That's basically the reason we're playing 2 copies of Peter Pan Shadow. These are often just copies 5 and 6 of Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer, because the card is so powerful that you just want to play more of them. But it also pairs really well with Stylish Surfer, because Peter Pan Shadow plus Mini Stylish Surfer can take out an opposing Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer, and although Crab Merlin can do a similar thing, having a Peter Pan Shadow left in play afterward is way better than having a Crab Merlin left in play, and this is one of the single best ways to win the mirror. If your opponent plays Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer on 3 in the mirror, then you follow up with your own, then they quest with theirs, you get to slam Peter Pan Shadow and just eat their Stylish Surfer, which basically puts you in the lead on the draw on the spot, and there's almost no other way to do that in the mirror. And so I think this is just a really powerful card. I would play at least 1 in your Ruby Amethyst control decks. 2 is a little risky. Drawing the second one in the same hand is pretty bad, but overall just a very solid card. It also tends to be very good against hyper aggro. I actually played on the weekend, I played against 2 hyper aggro decks, and Peter Pan Shadow was an absolute all-star just as another random rush character that also closes the game really quickly, something that you don't really have access to in this deck normally. 4 copies of Maui, yeah, I think it's just a no-brainer. Very good card advantage card. It comes down, eats a character, threatens to eat another character, and yeah, it's just bigger than anything else in the game. With people now playing Tiana aggro decks, you kind of need 4 copies of Maui, because it's the only way to do 6 damage all in one shot, and Tiana can't be wiped with Be Prepared oftentimes. So yeah, Maui, very powerful card. I'm only playing 2 copies of Lady Tremaine. I think this is pretty typical at this point for Ruby Amethyst control decks. As the format has gone on, good players have gotten much, much better about playing around Lady Tremaine, which has made its value go down. With that said, it's still a really nice play. It's really, really positive tempo, lets you eat one of their characters and threatens to quest for 2 on its own, and also has 4 willpower, which is a really powerful breakpoint with everyone targeting 3 willpower right now. That said, it's uninkable and sometimes is not the greatest, so only 2 copies. As far as my endgame characters, I'm playing 3 Ursula and 3 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. As I think I've mentioned previously, the current meta is extremely tempo-based, and Ursula is really, really good in a race. It removes 1 lore from your opponent and threatens to end the game extremely quickly, all while replacing itself, which I think is just extremely, extremely valuable. And I would play 4 if it was not uninkable. Unfortunately, playing 4 copies of a card like this is just a little bit too high risk for me personally, which leads me to Maleficent Dragon. I wanted to have some more late game in my deck, and I know some people have been cutting Maleficent Dragon for potentially a 4th copy of Ursula or maybe 1 to 2 copies of Elsa, but for me, that's just too many high drop uninkable cards. And so although often Maleficent is weaker than Elsa, and I wish I could play Elsa, I'm choosing to play Maleficent specifically because it's inkable, and it's obviously also a very good card. And I guess it's better against Beast Tragic Hero than Elsa is because it removes it and prevents the card draw. As far as actions, I think 4 copies of Be Prepared, 4 copies of Friends on the Other Side sort of speak for themselves. Not much to say. This swipes the board. This gets you card advantage. I'm choosing to play only 3 copies of Teeth and Ambitions. I think people have gotten much better about building decks around cards like Teeth and Ambitions and Let the Storm Rage on that deal 2 damage, and so the value of this card has gone down. That said, I still don't think you can go down to 0 copies. It's just too risky against something like Hyper Aggro. Plus, sometimes this can finish off a Minnie Mouse in the mirror or snipe a Fidget in the mirror, so it has its uses. Also, damaging Beast Tragic Hero is pretty good, especially for something you can sing for free. And yeah, that's the list. I think maybe it's notable that I'm playing 0 copies of Sorcerer's Spellbook. Basically, I think that the mirror, while Sorcerer's Spellbook is really, really good in the mirror often comes down to tempo, and Sorcerer's Spellbook is not tempo positive. And so I think that you can get, if you know what you're doing, you can get that same lore out of just another character if you play your cards right. And Sorcerer's Spellbook tends to be really, really bad in almost every other matchup other than the mirror. So I just don't want to have it in my deck at this point. I feel like something like Peter Pan's Shadow does a similar thing. Gets, you know, a good amount of lore, and it's hard to remove, but it also has value in other matchups and in scenarios where Sorcerer's Spellbook is basically dead. If you're behind, Sorcerer's Spellbook is just very, very bad. So yeah, that's the deck. I think I'll mention that I'm playing 15 on Inkables, which is 1 less than I think most decks are. Not super notable, but adds to a little bit of the consistency of my list, I think. And yeah, let's jump into some games. All right, we are here on the play versus some sort of Amber Steel deck. Could either be Steel Song or one of the new Tiana decks that are popping up, but I suppose we'll find out. In the dark, I'll keep Mini plus Teeth, Surfer Mini, and Goat Merlin. I'll ship back the 7 drops and Friends on the Other Side and see what we get. Alright, it's a good curve. Cusco's a good option, since Teeth is often not super great. But I'll start by inking Maleficent and playing a Mini. Benja. Okay. Simba. This is maybe... I've seen a list that included Simba. It was a very go wide style deck. So these teeth might end up being pretty good, but I don't need them quite yet. So let's get Cusco in play because Cusco can sing teeth. Simba. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care if they take out Cusco or Mini that much. I'll quest to maintain tempo. Okay. The Prince makes me think... Yeah, okay, Prince and Hercules. So this is probably some sort of Tiana-esque deck. Which means card draw might actually be useful because they're not actually very likely to wheel us. So let's start with Merlin. Obviously, I would have liked to keep the goat there, but I don't know. This is a 4-drop I can't ink, so I think you could argue that inking Friends is just as good, but this will work for now. I like the spot we're in. We have a nice lore lead, which is good because it means we'll be able to close out the game quicker when the time comes. Okay, yep, it is a Tiana deck. They're gonna have to start doing something here. They can't just let me keep questing. Alright, fair enough. Now would be a good time to do something with our songs, because as early as next turn, my opponent can threaten to turn off all of our songs. Peter Pan's Shadow. I don't hate it. Dealing with this Hercules is very annoying. So I think we should probably do that first. Okay, so we've cleared their board. I'm not going to need the cards, I don't think. I've already got card advantage on them, plus I have the rabbit in hand. I'll hold the teeth for now. It could be useful. It could easily get turned off, and if it does, I'll just ink it. Okay, they have Maui protection in the form of the Prince. Okay, and songs are turned off. All right. Resist 1. I'm going to play this to be ink efficient for now. Ink teeth. Play Olaf. Quest for 1. More bodyguards. A little bit tricky here. My opponent's at +7 lore on board. I need a Maui, I think. All right. Got one. All right. Let's do this. All right, second Maui is very, very good here. Means we'll be able to answer this Tiana pretty much no matter what my opponent does next turn. And now we should be in the clear. It should be very hard for our opponent to come out of this. Maui is the best card in these Tiana matchups because it just clears everything. All right, and we get a win. All right, here in a Ruby Amethyst mirror, we get to go first, which is usually pretty advantageous. It looks like we have a pretty good hand here. Well, I'm definitely keeping 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and a 4-drop. I like Peter Pan's Shadow, but I think Merlin is more important, especially on the play. If I was on the draw, I'd probably keep Peter Pan's Shadow so that I could potentially answer a Minnie Mouse with it. I might hold on to 1 extra snake just to make sure I have the ink to make all the plays I want. And if I don't, then snake ends up pairing well with Rabbit Merlin anyway. All right. We're unlikely to need multiple 1-drops, so let's do that first. Holding on to this Teeth and Ambitions just in case we need it to kill potentially a Minnie Mouse or a Fidget or something if we draw our own Minnie Mouse. You never know. All right. But now, since I like enough of the cards in my hand better than Teeth, I will ink it. We don't have a super aggressive start. We have a good curve, but no evasive threat. Which means if our opponent has an evasive threat, we might be a little bit behind. I'm just going to play Maleficent here. But we've got a huge draw engine. As long as our opponent doesn't run us over with a mini, we'll be okay. And they don't have one, which is good. So our hand starts looking pretty good at this point, I think. It's fine if they want to take our Maleficent out with a Fox Mim, that's no problem. I just want to keep pressure on. Inking friends, that's kind of curious. They must be shy on inkables, would be my guess. Okay, they're going to choose to trade 2 things for my Mim. I have no problem at all with that. Well? Okay, I think I'm going to get aggressive. I was planning on playing my Fox Mim to take out their mini and bounce my Merlin, but actually I think I'm going to play Snake Mim to bounce my Merlin so that I can get this Minnie Mouse in play. I feel like that's a better option for me. All right. So now the question is whether or not I ink this goat. And I think at this stage of the game, I'm going to be putting quite a bit of pressure on. I think I want to hold on to the goat and ink this fox. Could be wrong, but that is what makes the most intuitive sense to me. If I didn't say have like 2 rabbits, maybe I'd keep the fox around, but I have plenty of card draw as it is. Obviously, I would love to keep them both, but okay, so they have a mini of their own now. I'm gonna start by cantripping. I might end up inking the goat this turn. No. I think I'll ink Maui. Play Teeth here. It's nice to take out the Merlins before they can bounce them. In this matchup, I think some people don't do a good enough job of protecting their rabbits. If you only have 1 rabbit, you need to make sure that you don't lose it. It's very, very possible that they have 2, but if they don't, then that will be a rough spot for them. Okay. I don't think it matters too much which thing we keep between the snake and the rabbit. But I guess I'll get my draw now rather than later. I think now it's looking like a good time to play Ursula, because we have a really powerful follow-up to Be Prepared. They likely have to Be Prepared away this Ursula, and then I have a nice follow-up of Rabbit and Rabbit, which is really strong against both second Be Prepared and Lady Tremaine. So we just stay on the offensive here, and also this Ursula basically forces the Be Prep. If they have it, and if they don't, then we should win. And luckily replaces itself. It's also a little bit awkward to keep in my hand for post B prep because I actually don't have a cheap creature to play with it, which means it's weak to Lady Tremaine. Looks like... Alright, they just wanted to get their draw off. I was thinking maybe they were digging for the Be Prepared, but looks like they actually had it. Draw a card. Alright, perfect. Draw another card. At this point, we should be set on card draw. We likely don't need any more. I mean, I wouldn't complain if we got it, but at this point, lore is going to be more valuable than cards. Elsa out of the opponent. As much as I like shooting that with my dragon, I think I'm just going to commit one more threat. I'd rather not, like, walk 3 characters into a B prep when they have nothing else on board. It just seems like a good way to lose a game that we were winning pretty handily. Ursula. Yeah. They're going to bounce Elsa maybe here. Okay. So we know they have an Elsa. Now I might want to put the dragon in play. We should have enough resources for the rest of the game. Obviously, if they do beat prep us, which they'll probably have to do, we get 2 more cards. We have 2 Goat Merlins, which puts us at effectively 18 lore. All we need is 1 bounce effect, basically, to win the game here. So I think just using the resources we have is good. It's a lot of Be Prepareds. Okay, well, now that I have a second, or a third goat, I'm just going to play him. I'll pass on inking for now, but this one should be locked up. Sure thing. Alright, that will not cut it. Alright, and there's the game. Alright, picked up a win. Alright, we are on the play versus Purple Steel. So, in this matchup, we have to be the aggressor. And so, I'm definitely going to ship this Maui. I want to keep Peter Pan Shadow, I want to keep Olaf, I want to keep Mim Fox, I think. Teeth and Ambitions is often useful for killing Blue Fairy. So I'm going to keep 1 Goat Merlin, put 1 back in my deck. Alright. Not terrible. I'm going to ink this first goat just because I have another 4-drop. And I didn't draw other cards I want to ink. Probably want to play this mini on 3 is my guess. Hercules, okay. So the Purple Steel decks have started to go that direction, have they? Fair enough. I'm going to ink this fox. I have nothing to bounce for value, and I have a 3-drop I want to play. And again, I want to hold this Teeth and Ambitions just in case I'm up against a blue fairy. Would love to get some just like fodder inkables. All right, there's the blue fairy. Very awkward. This could end up being a tough game. I kind of hope they just smash this so that I get them with a Peter Pan Shadow. These Ursulas tend to be good, but I just don't have enough ink right now. I'm kind of looking to get a little bit ink screwed, unfortunately. They quest with blue fairy. Okay. Well, I guess that means that they have probably let the Storm Rage on. That's okay. I think I still just want to get the blue fairy off the table. They draw 2. Fine by me. Still kind of expecting a Let the Storm Rage on here. It's weird to have quested with blue fairy and then not have that. But okay, I guess they do not. So it goes, I guess. Just trying to get aggressive at this point. We have to be the aggressor in this matchup. Again, our hand is terrible. We ended up having to ink that Friends, and now we have no card draw. 3 7-cost uninkables in our hand. This is basically where the greatness of our draw kind of peters out. And it might be tough to close this game out. Yeah, Beast is a problem. Although maybe not that much of a problem. They already have so many more cards than me anyway. I think I'm just going to ink it. I'm already in trouble versus Tink plus Swords. In fact, so much so that I'm not even going to bother killing their Merlin. I'm just going to get as much lore as I can. Probably going to have to be prepared next turn, which is fine. Not great, but fine. Yeah, there's the Tink. I expect the swords to come. And it does. Ink. All right. Be prep it is. Now we're way behind on cards, but these Ursulas are probably going to be okay. They don't have a lot of great ways to deal with Ursula, and we've gotten so much lore that a goat or two should close out the game. At this point, the cards they have don't matter so much because they have more than enough cards as is. I just need to close it out before they catch back up. Sure. Keep drawing, no problem. It's nice not having to play around Lady Tremaine, although, hilariously, we possibly could here. Yeah, they don't have a lot of ways to deal with Ursula. Mostly just Elsa and Yzma. But Elsa's a temporary measure, and Yzma gets me a bunch of cards. So both are kind of okay with me. They have correctly assessed that they don't need any more cards. Alright, there's the Elsa. Curious if they challenge here. I feel like I would challenge specifically so that I could challenge both into Ursula next turn. if needed. Alright, I think that's fine too. Alright, I'm just gonna jam second Ursula. Hold the Maui for now, could be good. Yzma, alright. A little bit awkward. Now is where I start to worry, because I don't have a Be Prepared to clean up the board. They have more cards than me, and I don't have the most potent threats. I think they've managed to deal with the Ursulas at this point. Bounce and Elsa. Yeah, keep your Mims around. That's not bad. That is not bad. Alright, and they don't want me to get the one lore. A perfectly reasonable play, I would say. I'm going to eat their Mim, because this Maui's not likely to be particularly good this game. And at this point, I'm just going to play some weak beats to try and push just one or two lore here or there is all we really need now that we have this this goat in hand. We kind of need all our resources, so try not to ink anything as well. Alright, the Elsa comes back down. No surprise there. They have to decide what they want to keep tapped. If they don't choose Maui, then I can battle the Yzma. Obviously, if they do choose Maui, then I get to quest for one. Really want to get a bounce effect for this goat more than anything. Crab's actually pretty good here. Teeth. We'll pass, see what they manage to cook up. They, of course, have the ability to quest up to 11, bounce Elsa, replay Elsa. Really, really looking for a bounce effect for this Merlin. For the Goat Merlin, specifically. Okay, looks like no replaying Elsa this turn. They could, I guess, shift an Elsa onto their Elsa if they feel they need to do that. Alright, one swords. Fine, fine. Wish I had to be prepared right about now. But a bounce effect is lethal. Yeah, I'm going to start by cantripping. Alright. I think I should play this. It basically forces an Ursula out of them. Trying to think how I lose this game. I'm gonna hold both teeth. I don't know. I could potentially shoot my own Merlin down twice, but okay, we get there against Purple Steel, which is pretty good. Overall, I still think Ruby Amethyst Control is the best deck in the format. If you're not sure what you should be playing and you have faith in your own ability to pilot the deck, it will always be a good choice. I personally had a ton of fun top 8ing my first major in-person event, which was super, super cool. And to everyone who came up to me to say hi at that event, thank you so much. It's always cool to meet people in the community. And I had a ton of fun meeting other big Pixelborn grinders and streamers as well. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get notified when I release a new video. And I'll catch you next time.